Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to the channel yet again. Welcome back to Honest J. Nowak, and more importantly, welcome to a new string of episodes that are going to involve me sitting over here, because the record date of this episode, plus a few more that I'll have pretty soon, are all recorded on December 1st, 2020. And it's rightfully so, because by now you're probably wondering what the purpose of me doing this is. Well, there's a perfectly legit explanation for it. The weather patterns, of course, are freaky deaky. And I mean really freaky deaky. There's been little to no snow lately, and even better than that, there's been little to no cold that we've actually been seeing. Of course, temperatures would have to drop below 35 degrees by this point, and seeing that's been kind of a rare occurrence in recent times, it almost leads us to wonder, what exactly is going to be the new climate that we're going to experience for our own lives? Well, so that I can't really put out a good prediction on that or a good number on what exactly it could be, but you know what? Looking at all the sources that we seem to get our information about the weather from, it's been getting a little tough to figure out exactly who to trust here. Or could I just say whom to trust? So, that's pretty much it there, because now the real important thing about this is that, well, this is a new episode of HJN. And today, the topic that I had picked out for today, or rather what's jotted down on the notepad here, and by the way, this is just a little piece of the page that I had ripped off, so now I can easily look at different subjects without actually having to flip them. And then, of course, there are a few sleeves down here. There's this one over here and this one over here, and there's also one in the back. But it's meant for holding the actual notepad in place, so bottom line, I can now look at all the subjects that I need to see. Okay, number 556, sequels. So yeah, sequels, of course, have been a really big phenomenon in the motion picture business itself. And I ain't just talking about in Hollywood, I'm talking worldwide. Sequels are in fact ways to catch on to the popularity of a different feature film and hope to expand a little on the story based on the plot line, the characters, and much more that have occurred in a film that is already out. For example, there is, of course, the famous Citizen Kane. And even though we haven't had much to really drive out as an official sequel to Citizen Kane, there have been adaptations based on that story, spoofs and all. But something that actually has had a sequel to it would be Toy Story. Released in late '95, it became one of the greatest known movies of my whole life, being that it was the first to utilize complete CGI effects. And the entire film itself was all made by the usage of computers. A sequel came out 4 years later, in November 1999. And then, of course, it took nearly 6 years for them to at least make up a concept for a third film, which never came through, due to Circle 7 Animations being shut down. But then, of course, we actually were able to get a third Toy Story. It wasn't until summer of 2010 when it happened, but I'd still say it was kind of better late than never, simply because Pixar really wanted to work a lot on original projects and not just to make a bunch of sequels. That's kind of the spirit that they should get into, but in all honesties, I feel like we do need some more Toy Story films in our life. Because how else are we able to get to know what happens after the events of Toy Story 4? Well, I guess we'll never know until we actually do end up getting a Toy Story 5, since we did get a 4 at least a year ago. So of course, sequels in general are meant to carry on the story. Some do good and some do bad. The Toy Story films, of course, are some of the only sequels to ever exist around that happen to do better as time goes on. The first Toy Story did pretty darn well, and the second one did pretty darn good as well, and the third one was at the time the biggest grossing Toy Story film around. It was also one of the highest grossing Pixar films around. And then Toy Story 4 came out in June 2019. That thing made more than $1 billion. It's enough to rival Frozen, Transformers Age of Extinction, and any of Disney's new live-action reboots throughout the whole year 2019. So, and because Disney has actually made tons of money throughout the year 2019 because of all these new reboots, sequels, and adaptations and the like, it's a wonder why they were able to make more than $10 billion in the global box office that whole year. But here in late 2020, and probably through 2021, we may not expect much to come from them. So, I guess that's pretty much it for right now, but if you want to see more go down to my channel, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.